All right, welcome everyone. My name is Barry Johnson. I am the chair of the board of directors, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the 74th SASCU annual general meeting. This is a noteworthy AGM as it is the first time we are conducting the meeting digitally using Zoom. It is our hope that this technology will encourage more people to join us than usual. And of course, it is a safe way to conduct ourselves when congregating during this pandemic is not a safe option. So we will be moving fairly quickly through the agenda. The routine motion is seconded by a member of the board in order to simplify the use of our technology. We will have a slide for you to view for each resolution. The director's report and CEO report do not require a motion, so the minutes will show these reports were presented. There will be time for new business and questions or comments following the auditor's report. I would now like to introduce the current board, management, and our guest. So for the board, Dave King is our board vice chair. He is the chair of the Audit and Operational Risk Committee and a member of the CEO and HR Committee and member of the Community Relations and Sponsorships Committee. John Schlosser is board secretary, chair of the Nominations Committee. He is a member of the CEO Human Resources and a member of the Audit and Operational Risk Committee. Constance Liddell is chair of the Governance and Conduct Review Committees, member of the Credit and Market Risk Committee, and member of the Nominating Committee. Darlene McBain is a member of the Community Relations and Sponsorships Committee and member of the Governance and Conduct Review Committees. Peen is chair of the Credit and Market Risk Committee and member of the Governance and Conduct Review Committees and member of the Nominating Committee. Joan Ragsdale is a member of the Audit and Operational Risk Committee, member of the Community Relations and Sponsorships Committee, and member of the Nominating Committee. Trent Sisme, member of the Audit and Operational Risk Committee, member of the Market Risk Committee, and member of the Governance and Conduct Review Committees. And Dave Witt is the chair of our Community Relations and Sponsorship Committee and member of the Credit and Market Risk Committee. So that is our current board. Our executive management, Barry Delaney is our CEO. Jennifer Black is our Vice President of Finance. Ken Harries is our Vice President of Strategy. Julie Langham-Wall is our Vice President of Sales and Service. Sherry Hamilton, our Vice President of Human Resources. And Tom O'Connor, Vice President of Information Technology. And our guest is Angie Spencer, who is a partner with BDO. So that's the introductions of our board, our management, and our guests. So now before we continue, I'd like to take a moment to learn how we're going to use the Zoom technology during the meeting. I'm going to hand it over to Julia Payne, the Executive Assistant to the Board, to explain. So over to you, Julia.
Good morning. So for questions, they can be submitted through the Q&A feature on your screen anytime during the meeting. These questions, along with those submitted in advance, will be answered during the question period later in the meeting. If your question has already been asked in the Q&A feature, please upvote the question by giving it a thumbs up. In the event we're limited for time, we will focus on the most commonly asked questions. We will provide answers to all questions on our website in the days following the AGM. If you would rather state your question, please select the raise hand feature on your screen. We will provide audio capability to those individuals during the question period. Once you have been called upon, you will ask your question and then be muted before the question is answered. Voting will be done through a poll. The chair will read the motion, request a mover and seconder, and then call the question. The poll will then be launched, and you will be provided approximately 45 seconds to select and submit your vote. If you do not wish to vote on the question, please select the abstain to avoid delaying closing the poll. The chair will then announce the result and proceed to the next item of business.
Okay, thank you, Julia. So now the registrar's report. Julia Payne is our registrar for today's meeting, and I will ask her now to share with us the number of members attending to determine if quorum has been satisfied.
In attendance, we have 64 members, which satisfies our quorum requirements of 30.
Okay, thank you. So according to our rules, we have given notice for this meeting, provided the consolidated financial statements, and published the agenda and meeting details. And further, we have satisfied quorum, so I will call this meeting to order. To satisfy the requirement for a recording secretary, I hereby appoint Julie. The rules of order have been made available on our website in advance of this meeting and are on the screen. Okay, so there's a couple of slides there. I'd like to highlight a couple of the important ones. This meeting is open to members and invited guests only and is closed to the media. There will be no business from the floor, and the Roberts Rules of Order will apply to the proceedings. So you'll see a slide with a motion that was moved by Constance Liddell and seconded by Dave King to accept the rules of order for the May 5th, 2020 SASCU Annual General Meeting. So I will now call the question. So please record your vote on the poll. Okay, we're going to close the poll and fairly quickly. So the motion is carried. Thank you. Now we will move to the agenda, which was made available on the website in advance of this meeting and is now on the screen. And it is just the one slide. So you'll see here that the motion was moved by John Schlosser and seconded by Darlene McBain. The agenda is presented at the May 5th, 2020 SASCU Annual General Meeting. So I will now call the question, and you can see the poll there. So we've closed the poll and the results will come up pretty quick. So that motion is carried. So thank you. Now we will move to the minutes of last year's annual meeting. So the minutes were made available on the website in advance of the meeting. And there's 4 slides here, so we'll just take a minute to sort of funnel through them. Okay, and we have a motion from moved by Dave Witt and seconded by Frank Popine to accept the minutes of the SASCU 2019 Annual General Meeting. So I will now call the question. Okay, the poll is now closed, so we'll have the results here. And that motion is carried. Thank you. So I've reviewed the minutes and I can confirm that there is no business arising. So it is now time for the director's report, and I have the pleasure to deliver it on behalf of the full board. So SASCU had strong financial results in 2019. Our assets surpassed the $800 million mark, and earnings before taxes and dividends, $42 million. These earnings translate to a return on assets of 52 basis points. This profit met our expectations and is important as we need to continually reinvest in the business to meet members' needs and to compete effectively. SASCU Wealth and SASCU Insurance contributed $1.2 million to SASCU's successful year, and our commercial team also had a very good year and worked hard to grow. These results are a direct result of our membership having trust in us to give them the expert advice and service they need. SASCU's capital, which includes member shares and equity, now totals $43 million. There are two regulatory requirements for capital. The first based on the level of risk within our assets, and the second based on the leverage to our asset. SASCU's risk-weighted requirement is better than the regulatory requirement. However, the leverage requirement is below the regulatory requirement. This latter measure relates to the purchase of our new insurance office in Enderby, and this requirement will be met in 2020. As SASCU continues to grow, capital levels must also increase, and strong earnings are necessary to sustain this progress. In 2019, we began to focus on the number of new members, as historically our membership levels were stalled. This was based on the net result of new members, less members that were either moving away from the Shuswap or were deceased. SASCU welcomed 1,352 new members and now has a new annual performance objective for new member growth and retention. Our staff works hard to achieve SASCU's performance objectives, so this change provided a very positive result for staff. Moving on to governance, credit unions, particularly those with assets of less than $1.5 billion, are experiencing challenges in recruiting directors for the board. The top challenges reported are the qualifications and the time commitment required, with additional challenge of regulatory requirements and governance. This is the second year that SASCU has not had sufficient director candidates for an election. Fortunately, we have been able to retain incumbents and recruit new directors to fill all the board positions. The board will be reviewing SASCU's bylaws and making recommendations to the members for changes to allow for the appointment of independent directors. Current strategic plan will expire in 2020. Due to its successful execution, SASCU will continue to build on its two areas of focus, member centricity and continuous improvement, and map the next 4 years. The board started work at the May planning session following a town hall discussion with staff in October and had a second planning session in November. The new strategic plan will have 3 areas of focus: member success, technological development, and our communities. The final elements are being developed, and we hope to share our new plan with the membership in the fall of this year. On behalf of the board, I would like to acknowledge the hard work and dedication from our staff and management to provide great service to our members and produce the strong results for 2019. I would also like to thank the board for their dedication and enthusiasm. SASCU's future looks very positive, and we look forward to continued growth and bringing new innovations to our members. So now I would like to make some director announcements for the changes that will be coming to the board. So firstly, Dave Witt and Dave King are both returning to the board for a 3-year term. So congratulations to. We are saying goodbye to Trent Sesme following this AGM. Trent joined the board in 2018 and is one of SASCU's youngest directors. He has brought an invaluable perspective in terms of financial acumen and the view of the younger demographic. Trent served on the audit, operational risk, and the credit and market risk committees, where his financial knowledge and forward thinking asset to the organization. In 2019, Trent also joined the conduct review and governance committees. Trent provided sound guidance to SASCU through the COVID-19 pandemic. His guidance was focused on doing the right thing for the community while balancing SASCU's financial stability. So thanks for everything, Trent. I would now like to welcome Kelly Bennett to the board. Kelly has over 20 years of accounting and financial management experience, receiving her chartered accountant designation in Abbotsford, BC in 2004. Before moving back to her hometown of Salmon Arm in 2009, she spent several years working with KPMG in Bermuda. Her first 3 years back in Salmon Arm were spent working with BDO until she became the Chief Financial Officer for the District of Sicamous. In addition to having a diverse financial background, Kelly has been involved with all aspects of the construction of various housing projects within Salmon Arm, and also sits on the board of the District of Sicamous Economic Development Corporation. She has 2 young daughters and is enjoying raising them in our great community. So that concludes my report. So it is now my pleasure to introduce our CEO, Barry Delaney, and he will deliver the CEO report.
Hello, everybody. My name is Barry Delaney. I'm the CEO of SASCU. It's my pleasure to have this role, and this is my 4th year as CEO of this fine organization. The CEO report. So I'm going to talk about 2019, given that's what this AGM is about. But at the end, I will speak to our COVID-19 response, given it's just everywhere right now. But let's look back first before we look forward. So we had some, as Barry mentioned, we grew by over 1,300 members. The focus on our sales team is both to grow the membership, but to also retain the membership. And families are busy. We have a higher demographic, so we do have people that pass away, and we deal with their estates, and we have people move away for university and college. So dealing with the retention of our membership is as important as growing new members. Since launching free e-transfers in March of 2018, our e-transfer volume has doubled. We used to charge $1.50 and now it's free. And when I say it's free at SASCU. It doesn't matter what your account is, doesn't matter what your package is. If you're a member, it's free. And we're really proud of that number because it means that members are engaging with us in a meaningful way, multiple times, in some cases, multiple times a week in a value-added transaction. And that helps with what I mentioned previously about member retention. We had a very good year last year in terms of mortgage and loan growth, more than 73 million. And we deliberately put the brakes on our term deposit growth. We had modest growth of 16.6, and that's exactly what we wanted. And the reason for that was, it seems like ancient history, but last year we were in a rising rate environment, unlike this year where rates are dropping to the floor. But when rates are rising, our term deposits cost us money in a quick fashion, and it takes longer for the mortgages to reprice. So to meet our profitability number of 4.2 million we had to manage both sides of the balance sheet. And then our contact center has been something we've been investing in for about 2 or more years. Our contact center is located above our Uptown branch. It has 6 people in it, and they typically receive about 4,000 calls a month. In this pandemic, which I'll speak to later, their call volume has really increased to more than double that. All right, other things we're proud of in 2019. That includes our community crew. Just look to Julia to advance the slide. Our community crew, which we know that charities value the contributions we give them through our board of directors. But we also know that many charities value equally or more so having volunteers to help run their event. So our staff, those that wish to participate, will wear the blue shirts and the jackets and will go out and help community events be successful. And we did 90 of those last year. Our contact center, we're very proud. They're open 8 to 8, Monday to Friday, 8 to 4 on Saturday, and that's been the case for about 18 months. And Open Anywhere Digital is something we're also very happy about. It allows non-members anywhere in Canada to be able to open an account at SASCU. On the community side, again, we announced our partnership with the Innovation Center. That was about a year worth of discussions, and it resulted in the Innovation Center, and in smaller letters, powered by SASCU. Our commitment to the Innovation Center is to help make their makerspace a success, and also everything in that building where they're helping entrepreneurs be successful succeed. So one of the examples is our Big Idea Contest, where we're encouraging young people in the makerspace to record a short video about how they're going to, what they're making in that space will help on Earth Day, help contribute to saving the planet. And then we give a free membership to the makerspace for a year. We've also been digitizing processes. Our small digital team has digitized a number of processes last year, and we're getting better and better. Our mortgage renewal, electronic funds transfer, stop payment, and others with DocuSign has made it really convenient for members, whether they're here in Salmon Arm or on the North Shore or anywhere in North America. We can get their processes taken care of. And this has been very helpful with the COVID-19, just having this flexibility or this capability. Moving on to our youth. We do have a strong youth focus. We launched more than a year ago a youth council. These are staff members that when we were recruiting, we were looking for staff that were less than 30, and we had to raise that to less than 35. But now we have our youth council, and we run past them business issues and business topics, and we get their perspective. They're often saying to us, it needs to be more simple, convenient, online, and flexible. And those are attributes and qualities that are not unique to the youth, but they're valued by all demographics. So we're finding this youth council a really great addition to SASCU. And on the right, you see our annual report. That's the cover and the youth focus, as you'll see, and it's available on our website as of yesterday, and you can give it a look. And then finally, when we were doing our youth work, we did focus groups with both students away at university or college and those that are here studying. And they said again and again how e-transfers have made them more loyal to SASCU. It's something that set us apart from the banks in town. And we had that campaign, Small Change, Big Deal, taking the fee, what does that say? The free at a fee. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, it's been very well received. We've also launched our financial literacy program called Each One Teach One. We've had our staff trained on how to deliver these modules to any group in the community, but certainly the high school students here in Sicamous have really embraced that program. This is a non-branded financial literacy program, and we've touched last year 115 students. And then finally, on the student side is scholarships. We've always had a very strong scholarship program. The board decided to expand the scholarship program to include part-time students and to include some vocational trades. And that's really made it more robust and more meaningful on campus. So in 2020, prior to COVID, we have lots of plans that some have been parked, some continue. One of them is online, anytime, anywhere, international e-transfers. That's something that our membership have been asking for, and that's something that we're working on. We're also working on what we call a consolidated member view. This is where at the early summer, we want to roll out to our membership. When you log on to your account, and if you have a joint with other accounts, you can see them all in the same view. So for example, I'm joint on all of my kids' accounts, and I can log in once and see all their accounts. Again, this has been something our membership has been asking for. We'll continue to work on our insurance. Enderby is 18 months old in terms of part of the SASCU family. We have the 2 insurance offices, and we continue to work on integration. And we're very excited as we work on deploying more online services later this year in 2020 to our small business community. Most businesses in Salmon Arm, Sorrento, and Sicamous bank at SASCU. The only ones that really don't are ones that have a buying relationship and are national. So we have probably close to 2,500 businesses, and that's why this SEBA program on the COVID response, the emergency federal program, we're an important participant to funnel those funds to those businesses impacted. And then as Barry Johnson mentioned, we are working on a new strategic plan because this one expires at the end of the year. As he mentioned, we had 2 areas of strategic focus, member centricity and continuous improvement. And it doesn't mean that these are no longer relevant. What it means is we're actually doing now a really good job on those 2 areas. So we'll continue to do so. But what's the next area we want to focus on? And we're just building out 3 new areas of focus, as he mentioned, member success, digital development, and our communities. And we're doing really great work on the digital side. So I'm going to just speak to 2 slides on the finances, and then we'll move into COVID. This slide is about our businesses that provide investment advice and insurance advice. Together, those 2 businesses contribute 23% of our profitability. And they're providing needed advice in our community. That red bar at the top of the 2019 column represents the contribution of Shuswap Insurance to SASCU's profitability. Very important. Now, profitability. So I'm reminded when I think of this profitability slide of a Churchill quote. He said, in finance, everything that is agreeable is unsound, and everything that is sound is disagreeable. And when I look at this, I think about the challenges we had last year. We had a rising rate environment, and we had to do something we hate to do, and that is to price our term deposits in a way that were unattractive to our membership, just so that we could work hard to meet a minimum level of profitability. We pushed a lot of loans out the door. We're really not part of that market, the term market, and we met the profitability that is required by our regulator and required for capital reasons. So it was a very interesting year, and who knew that this was the year we'd be facing going forward, where it's even more interesting. Finally, COVID. We, again, I'm reminded of Churchill where he said, if you're going through hell, keep going. And, you know, coming to work during a pandemic and dealing with the issues that our membership are dealing with has been very, very challenging. And the hardship in our community as a result of COVID has been devastating. We've seen that through the payment relief program that we've offered, where we have over 500 families deferring interest or interest in principal or some combination to get payment relief. Of those 500 families, about 150 of them are businesses. Imagine that, 150 businesses in this community are feeling the devastating impact, so much so that they're looking for payment relief. We're just rolling out the, as I mentioned earlier, the emergency federal $40,000 loan program to businesses. In 3 or 4 days, we've approved, or been part of 200 applications, 200 business applications, and I'm told there's likely another 100 or 200 in the queue. So what has been our focus? Our focus in 2020, like today, and for the last 6 weeks, we've had 2 areas of priority. 1, keep members and staff safe. 2, stay open. And that's it. Keep people safe and stay open. And that has been a challenge. We've limited access to the branches, so we've reduced our hours from 10 to 4. We have reduced access, where you can only enter the branch for service rep services or teller services. If we have 3 tellers on, then 3 people can enter the branch, with social distancing outside. We've implemented premium pay for people serving our membership, $3 more an hour. Our contact center, as I mentioned earlier, is dealing with calls in the 9,000 to 10,000 range, which is 2 to 3 times our normal volume. The top 3 questions our contact center is getting are: 1, are you open? Yes. 2, do you have some payment relief or program that can help my family? Yes. And 3, can I renew my car insurance? Can I renew my mortgage? Can I renew? Yes, you can do all those things. But we have reduced access to all those services where they're only available via telephone. We've also consolidated our teller services from uptown to downtown. So if you wanted to enter the branch for some reason to deal with a service representative, you would come to downtown. Why? Well, it's keeping staff safe and staying open. And what that allows us to do operationally by moving them to one location is we can take some of those staff and redirect them to the contact center that's doing an amazing job answering phones, and then deploying the rest on our front line. So that's what we're doing in terms of COVID. Our staff are doing an amazing job. And as I say to our staff, during this time of stress that families are going through, we're asking all of us to be compassionate to each other and be kind to each other. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's the CEO report.
Thank you very much, Larry. Okay, we'll now move on
To the auditor's report. So to deliver the auditor's report, Angie Spencer. She is a partner with BDO, our external audit firm, and she was the lead partner for the audit. So take it away, Angie.
Thank you very much, Barry. So as Barry mentioned, I'm the external auditor, and we were engaged to report on the December 31st financial statements. And I'm just going to take some time today to go over our findings and a summary of the financial statements as at December 31st. So you can just forward to the next slide there, Julia. So as I mentioned, we were engaged to audit the consolidated financial statements as at December 31st. I believe those were issued as part of, or if you're looking for a full set of financials, you can access those on. By consolidated, that includes all the entities with Barry calls it. So SASCU Wealth, SASCU Insurance, and the fairly new Shuswap Insurance as well. The credit union reports under international, so that is required for all credit unions across Canada and any other. We did complete our audit on March the 10th to an unqualified audit opinion. So this is essentially a clean audit. Statements are free of any material misstatement. As part of our audit, we also review the internal controls of the organization and are happy to report that there were no significant control deficiencies noted this year. So now I'm just going to go a brief overview of the financial statements. As I mentioned, these are a condensed version that's on the screen in front of you. For a full set, you'll have to access the full set on the website. So total assets SASCU, they grew from 774 million in 2008 up to 807.8 million in 2019. So as Barry had mentioned in their commentary, that most of this growth was due to a 12% increase in the loans distributed to members. So overall, that was broken down by retail loans were up by about 56 million or 12.3%, and commercial loans increased 0.8 million or 10.9%. So as a result of this increase in the loans, some investments were liquidated to facilitate providing new loans to members. Such investments decreased from 108 million in 2018 to 65.7 million in 2019. Under the caption Other Assets, this increased over prior year. This was largely due to a change in accounting treatment for SASCU, in which leases are now capitalized based on their future benefit for accounting purposes only. So I'll move on to liabilities and members' equity. Short-term debt was increased during, or as at December 31st to just over 11 million. And that again was to assist in providing liquidity to the organization and to assist in the demand of new member loans. Member deposits, there was some modest growth for teen from 731 million up to 748 million, or a 2-point growth there. So overall, members' equity at December 31st, 2019 came in at just over 42.5 million as total membership of the credit union continues to increase as well. So I now will move to comprehensive income. So this is a summary of the revenue and financial income increased by 11% over 2018. So that was due to additional interest earned on the growing loan portfolio. That was offset with a decrease in interest rates in 2019. So the financial margins there were quite flat over last year, coming in at just over 15 million. Under the caption Other Income, this includes income earned from the other services, SASCU Wealth. That increased due to the subsidiaries and also a full year of results with the previous year's acquisition. Expenditures came in at just 17.8 million. That increased by about 5% over the prior year. That increase was largely due to a full year of costs associated with the Shoe Shop Insurance acquisition, and also an increase across the board in terms of salary and staff wages. So overall, the net income or comprehensive income for the year came in at $3.49 million. So the following slide just illustrates an overall trend analysis over the last 3 years. So showing that, you know, SASCU has continued on a pattern of continued growth. So the green the year that has continued to increase and expenditures moderately increasing in relation to that. The black line just represents the overall net income before taxes. And my final slide, in addition to our engagement to perform the audit over the consolidated financial statements, SASCU is required and regulated by BC Financial Services Authority to demonstrate that they have adequate capital adequacy, and we are engaged as an independent auditor to audit here. So the capital adequacy ratio guidance is based on the percent assets held in relation to debt to safeguard financial institutions against excessive leveraging. The regulatory requirement in BC is 8% of capital base related to the business carried on by it. At December 30th, SASCU had a capital adequacy ratio of 13.76%. So that's well in excess of the recommended guidelines. So the minimum is 8%, 10%. So that concludes my auditor's report. I would like to just express my gratitude towards the finance team, Jennifer Black, Grant Adams, Jerry Burdett, for all their hard work in allowing us to conduct the audit. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Angie. So every 5 years, SASCU conducts an extensive review of the process for our external audit requirements. The last year we completed, the review was in 2019. The board agreed that BDO was the best firm to meet our needs. So we are therefore recommending to the membership to appoint BDO as our auditors for 2020 and have the remuneration set by the board. So you see the slide there with the motion that is moved by Jill and seconded by John Schlosser to approve the auditor's report for December 31st, 2019, as presented at the May 5th, 2020 SASCU AGM, and that BDO Canada LLP be appointed auditors for SASCU and its subsidiaries for the 2020 year, and the board will set the remuneration amount. So we'll launch the poll for that motion. So we'll close the poll and the results will be up shortly. And that is carried. Thank you. So now we're at the point in the meeting where we ask our members if there is any new business or questions from the floor. So I see that we have a few questions that have come in. So the first one is related to Kelly's term on the board, and she has been appointed for a 3-year term. Okay, Barry, do you want to take the one from Marianne?
All right. We have a number of questions, and I just want to comment that we already have, we compare the number of members that are attending today to last year's AGM. Not counting board of directors, not counting SASCU staff, I mean, members attending. We're more than double attendance last year, and we might be close to 3 times. So we'll know more when we count them up after the meeting. But that's pretty impressive in our community that we'd have as many people attending. Well, I have so many more attending virtually. And of course, we changed the time to be lunchtime to see if we could catch more. So we have a comment from Marianne. She's a trustee with the Board of Education, and she says, it's not really a question, it is a comment. Thank you for supporting students in School District 83, especially with the financial literacy program at Eagle River Secondary and Salmon Arm Secondary. All right, thank you, Marianne. We have a question from Maureen McClellan. And she said, I'm interested in how COVID-19 is affecting our credit union. So I'll just say, Maureen, that the one thing I'll mention that I didn't mention in my remarks, and we've had this question from the community and from staff, is given the amount of businesses that are devastated really financially from the COVID, how is SASCU doing? Are we financially strong? And the answer is we're unequivocally strong. We know that from both our finance team doing the analysis of the payment relief program. We know it from how the operations have been impacted. We just had the recent audit from BDO from last year where we have the capital to weather the storm. And our regulator says that, confirms that we're financially strong. The impact to us will be next year. 2021 will be when we'll feel the pain of it. And that's in loans that go delinquent because consumers or businesses are struggling, or foreclosures, or write-offs from loans that can't be repaid because businesses are no longer open. And I just want to say that at SASCU, we are working with leaders in our community already to talk about how we can help this community and Sicamous and the North Shore and sort of reopen and how can we help businesses reopen? Not just financial help, but technical help, advice to transition to this new place. So thank you, Maureen. We have, let's see, we have another one. We have June Stewart. What is the impact of leverage being below requirement? So June Stewart. So I'll just, I don't know if Barry will want to jump in, but we are below requirement for about a year, and it's related to the purchase of the insurance business in Inderby. So we used our capital it was a draw on our capital to purchase that business. And we've done a long range forecast as to how that business will actually help us replenish our capital and replenish it quicker because they're making money, and it's through profit that you replenish capital. So it's a temporary decline, and then we're through it. Our regulator's fine with that, and our board has challenged management to make sure that we can indeed do that. Thank you, June. We have a question from David Askew. David asks, our auditor gave the dollars of commercial loans. I missed the number and wondered if she could repeat it. Oh, well, there you go, Angie. Here's one for you.
I would be happy to. Yeah. So of the total loan portfolio, $118 million of that is commercial loans. And in my commentary, I had just mentioned that there was a 10.9% increase over prior year. So commercial loans increased by about 17.8 million.
Yes, thank you, Angie. That's great. We have a comment from June Stewart, and I'll just read it out. It's not a question, but I'm sure she won't mind. Good morning. Some nonprofit folks are joining your AGM so we can learn how to hold a virtual AGM. Will you be offering coaching lessons if we need them? And yes, of course. Yeah, of course. No charge. Happy to do it. Yeah. Yeah, don't call me. Julia Payne is the one you need to call.
Okay, well, I'm not.
We have a hand raised. I'll turn it over to Julia because technically.
So we do have a hand raised by Chrissy Davis. So I am going to unmute her and allow her the opportunity to ask her question.
Oh, that was really nice. It was a complete accident. I think I turned my phone around.
Well, that's great. We got to test the hand raising feature. Thank you.
The hand raising function works.
Please mute me.
Will do.
Okay, well, not seeing any more questions.
We're at the stage of the meeting where if we were in person, we would normally be doing some door prizes. However, this year, we've made a special contribution to the food banks in our communities to help with their needs due to the COVID-19 challenges. So hopefully we'll all be back together next year, and we for prizes. So we're really at the end of the meeting, and I just want to remind the board that we'll be having a board reorganization meeting following this AGM. So so that'll be in about 15 minutes.
So I'm told by Julia Barry that you're frozen or we can't hear you.
Oh dear.
So maybe I'll just jump in and mute you. And he was just thanking everybody for coming to our first ever digital AGM. So thank you so much.
I think it is shut down.
And I think he's looking at me. Can I, on your behalf, adjourn, Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Yeah. So I have the proxy to adjourn the meeting. Thank you so much. Big success to us and to you, great community boosters. A reminder to the board, 15 minutes, then we're going to get back together. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Angie.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.